Hey, look at that, we're going. All right. So, we're gonna do some maintenance on the truck today. As a matter of fact, since this is my first time doing this, I'm gonna go ahead and show the outside of the truck. So this here is my 68 F100. She's a work in progress. I inherit her from my granddad. There's some rust. But that's really it. That's the only spot. The rest of it's all pretty much surface. But anyways, I thought I had a old C4 transmission in this girl. Turns out I have an AOD from the 80s. I learned that when I accidentally pulled my speedometer cable out, thinking it might be the vacuum line for the C4, which gets you into passing gear because the vacuum and the downshift. Anyways, so now my odometer and my speedometer don't work. So that's what we're gonna try to fix today. I've never done this before, but we're gonna figure it out. I got a speedometer cable here. Should be the right one. That's what the internet says. Made by Pioneer Automotive and whatnot. Anyways, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull the dash gauge clusters here, and it looks like as long as I pull all of these screws here, and there's some that are farther up there, yep, right there. As long as I pull those, I should be able to hopefully just pull the cluster there and gain access to the speedometer cable. And yeah, we'll see how that works. So without further ado, I'm gonna start ripping into this. So I think I forgot to mention this at the start. This is just going to be a personal vlog. Like I said, I got this truck from my granddad a couple years ago. She's been running and driving, no issues really, nothing major. It's been in the family a long time, and I'm just trying to bring her back to life a little bit more so we can keep it in the family, keep it running, keep it moving. Anyways, it's just a personal vlog, not a how-to or nothing crazy. Like I said, I don't even know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of somewhat mechanically intuitive, and I can usually figure this stuff out. Plus my dad's he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to these trucks. He used to work on them all the time, and so I lean on him pretty heavy for a lot of this knowledge being passed on. And well, we got it out. It's all right here in all her glory. I'm gonna clean that up real good before I put it back in there. It's got all kinds of dirty on the backside there, but that's okay. That's one of the perks when you start doing stuff like this, is you can, oh, that's just loose. Okay, well, looks like this is coming completely off. Let's not break our gauges here. This is the cover, goes over the gauges. We're gonna set that right up here. I thought that was screwed in, but apparently it's not. I don't want to mess my other gauges up, so we're gonna lay that nice and safely right up here, nice and safe. Okay, so now we really have our gauges exposed, so we need to get on the back side of this guy here to fix our speedometer, because it's well, there's no resistance there. Interesting. And I wonder if that being loose is why whenever I get up around 40 miles an hour, my needle just kind of stops, and that honestly might be what broke it. So look at that, we're learning something every day. My battery cable there, she's flopping in the wind, or not cable, but the battery's needle. I wonder if that means that gauge is bad. Anyways, it's gonna get in a whole new gauge panel eventually. So it looks like I'm gonna need to get, actually that's pretty fucking loose. I wonder if I can, yeah, I can take that out by hand. So we're gonna do that real quick, and we're gonna see about Well, yeah, that was real loose. Okay, well, does that mean this little panel itself will come out, or? Nope, not really. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is we're going to go ahead and see if we can pull this whole gauge cluster out without completely breaking it. Because if that happens, then I have even more problems, which I wonder. Look at that, that isn't broken. That's been covered up this whole time. Oh, brother. Okay, well, that's one of the beauties of these old rigs. Did you learn something every day? I thought my little part of my odometer here, let me get you closer. I thought that right there, I thought the numbers were gone. Turns out there's just something in front of it. You can see the number kind of peeking through. So we'll see if we can fix that while we got it out. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and flip you around. Boop, look at that. Magnetic, I love to see it. There's some resistance there, but why? Probably the speedometer cable. Probably. Alright, let's see if we can just cock it to the side here. Look at that, we can. Okie dokie. Now, if we look on the side here, and we come in, this right here, this black cable that runs back through the firewall is our speedometer. Now, we're gonna have to find a way to get it back through that firewall, and I kinda having a hard time seeing back there to see what's going on. As a matter of fact, let's use the camera here. Yeah, you can see it runs all the way back there. Okay, so that's what we got to get off. The rest of the gauge clusters all seem to be hooked up fine. Don't see anything that looks loose or nasty, but we'll probably clean it out in here. It's pretty dusty, you know. We living in the desert, so she gets a little dusty up in there. Anyway, let's see about going underneath and pulling the bottom side where it connects into the transmission. Alright, so as I mentioned before, this black cable here is what runs the speedometer and odometer. Anyways, you come through the firewall, boop, 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 boop. You wrap around, you can get up underneath here, and you can see that's where it's supposed to go in, that silver piece, right now. And that is the cable that's supposed to be in there. So, naturally, being, you know, the all-star that I am, and by that I mean my severe lack of knowledge when it comes to these things, or growing knowledge rather, is how I like to see it. I pulled it out. In all fairness, it's not supposed to just pull out like that. It's supposed to be crimped. This right here is supposed to be crimped up around it. She's not supposed to be that easy to get out. And she just boop, popped right out. So now we gotta pull this end, and from what I've been told, there should not be any issue as far as fluid because of the angle where it goes in here. And now we gotta figure out how to get that piece out, because it should just pop right out from my understanding, but apparently not. Interesting. Huh. Well, give me a minute. I'm gonna go search the interwebs, see if I can figure out why this doesn't want to come out. Because my understanding was when she pulled the retention, obviously this isn't an issue because it's just here doing nothing, hanging out. I'm spraying transmission fluid on myself. That should just come right out, and it's not. So I'm gonna go figure that out. I'll be back. Now we're gonna see if we can get this joker out of here because she's a little stuck. There we go. That's all it was. Bingo, bango, bongo. Oh, that looks a bit different than the one we got. Interesting. Well, we're gonna have to figure that out. Looks like that gear comes off. If you look at it real close, it looks like this here retains this gear on top of the rest of this assembly. And hopefully we can transfer this one onto the new one, or else I might have to go buy a whole new throttle cable, or speedometer cable, not throttle. Words, they mean things. This ain't the throttle, it's a speedometer. Okay, so upon further inspection, it does appear as though this is just a clip that retains this gear on. Bingo bango, just like that. Boop. Got that little guy off of there. And then this should hopefully, haha, come right off. And that is what tells you how fast you're going. So it goes onto the end of this guy here. Okay. Slides right on that clip, keeps it on there, and it grabs the gear that's inside the transmission. So as the transmission is making you go forward, go backward, this rotates, which rotates the cable in here, and then subsequently your needle on your dash goes up, down, whatever. Mine historically has been really bouncy, so I am hoping that this repair here will actually help fix that. Another thing I've noticed is these marry up really nicely, which is good, but I don't have a gasket on my new one. This new one here, I don't know if you can see this far, but there's supposed to be a gasket in there. If you look at this one next to it with contrast, maybe you can see it. Anyway, up close, there you go. See that black ring? That's a gasket. So I'm gonna have to get that off of here and onto here. And then we got our white lithium grease here. We're gonna pull this cable out through the end that goes into the speedometer, because it's easier to pull that way. And we're gonna give it a nice coating of grease up and down it, so that way as it's moving in there, it's not tearing itself up or anything crazy. So I am going to knock all of that out. It's gonna be super boring. So I'm gonna go ahead and press pause on the camera, save some battery, and then I will start recording again whenever it's time to install. And barring any issues with transferring this gasket, hopefully there's no more runs to the store, because I already had to go to Ace once to grab some hardware, because I noticed the gauge cluster is actually, it was missing a couple of screws in a couple spots, but that's okay. We got the screws, they're gonna fit, we're gonna be good to go. So yeah, I will boot the camera back up after she's all lubed up and ready to be fed through and installed. All right, so we're all greased up. Matter of fact, let's cap this off here. We went ahead and we ran a good bit of some white lithium grease all through the joint there. We were able to affix the gear to the end of our new cable here with our new gasket as well. Our recycled gasket, it's healthy, nice and springy, it looked good, so we're good to go there. And then we have our bolt to remount that with its fastener, which is somewhere on the, yeah, there it is. Boom, which is, there's the old one. So the way best I can tell, it's gonna be easier to throw this end into the transmission and then trace this end, which we kept capped off to make sure none of the grease and stuff, we don't want stuff getting in there as we're weaving through. Like I said, desert, dirty, dusty, don't want anything getting in there. So we're gonna put that end back in the tranny, and we're gonna run this, we're gonna match the current route of the one that is in but broken. That way we can hopefully get this installed real quick like, and I need my ratchet, which is over here. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead, let's transition to the underneath of the truck here. Yeah, and I feel like this cable feels short, but it's also probably not as much distance to cover as you might think. So angle this up here so we can see, bam, that hole there, boom, that's what we're going into. So without further ado, let's go ahead and work that joker in there. Now she should just slide right back in, just like that. Nice and simple. Then we bring our retainer around here. We got our bolt. And we just thread her on up. Get her started by hand. We can grab our ratchet. And we can run her nice and snug. She just needs to be snug. You don't need to over tighten nothing, just enough to keep her up in there, keep her from coming loose. Okay, and now, like I said a minute ago, we're just gonna match the old cable's routing system here. So we'll start pushing this through. And she's gonna go up towards the firewall. And I'll tell you what, something tells me this would be a bit easier if I had another set of hands, but I don't. It's just me. All right, so now let's go pop the hood, see if we can even see the other end of that cable somewhere over there, and we'll keep working her through. All right, so now we're up top. We've worked our way around. Our cable's right here. Bingo, that's her. And now we just need to make sure we're running on the same path the old one's on, because we don't want to cross wires or have this thing end up riding to where it is on anything that's going to get real hot, end up melting the protective coating over the cable. So as long as we match what's currently going on, which we don't currently have an issue with that, so therefore we shouldn't end up with an issue like that. Now, doesn't mean it won't happen, but it shouldn't. And here's the old one. She fed out nicely. There she is. And we'll just let that fall. We'll find that. We'll find that later. It looks like it's dripping something down there, so oh well, whatever. It is what it is. We'll clean it up in a minute. And now we take the new one. We gotta find that same hole we just took that other one out of, because it's right up in here somewhere. It's tucked up pretty good. Can't really see it too well. Oh, brother. Well, you know what? We're gonna let that dangle. I'm gonna move around to the inside, and let's see if I can find it from behind the dash. Yeah, we're pretty much lined up on it. I could see it, but getting your hand in there, that's the hard part. Alright, let's see if I can identify where the hole is. Bingo. Alright, so there's the hole. So now let's grab that. See if we can't get her to go in. Turn. Come on. Work with me here. And this is why I kept that plastic cap, that red cap, on the end that mates into the actual speedometer, because right now that end of the cable is definitely, it'd be rubbing on stuff that I really don't want it rubbing on. So I'm working blind here. I can't really see what I'm doing, but I think I got it started. And it actually looks like that plastic cap might be what was stuck. A little bit of force there, but nothing too crazy. She went right through. Bada boom, bada bing. Now, let's transition to the inside. All right, so as you can see, we made it in. So it was actually, there's a lip on the cap here, if you can see it. That's what got stuck in the hole of the firewall. But we're in, nonetheless. So now, we just got to get it fixed into the back of the panel here. I'm going to try and put the camera here inside, because I have a fancy little magnet mount. No, maybe, perchance. Bingo, we're in there. Hopefully I can get it done nice and easy without any real issue. So it should just feed right in right here, but it's not wanting to go. She is technically square, so maybe I don't have enough of the wire, perhaps. Let's see. Well, I'm not sure why it's not grabbing. Huh? What? You want me to take Waylon?
Yeah.
Why?
He's screaming for 25 minutes.
Yeah, give me a moment, please. Just 1 second. I'm trying to get this new cable to connect in here, and it doesn't want to. I'm not sure why. Oh, we're recording. Okay, so remember how I told you that I don't know what I'm doing here. You know, I'm just a guy trying to keep his family's, you know, truck running and good to go. All right, so as you can see here, I took this end back out. So I was fighting up front pretty hard, or up top rather, pretty hard. So these wires, you can't really see it in the camera, but they're squared off on either end. And I was having a whale of a time getting the top side on there. And, well, quite frankly, what I learned is, well, this wire just, it runs freely through there. That's why, I mean, I pulled the whole thing out and lubed it. Well, in doing so, by putting this on first, last time, every time I tried to push the wire in on the top end to thread it on to the speedometer, it was pushing or pulling the wire out of here, right? And since this was already in there, I couldn't see, because the wire runs all the way up into this tip here. Sorry, this tip here. And I couldn't see that. I don't know. I can't tell. So I was having a whale of a time up top. And I was like, man, it was real easy coming out. It shouldn't be this hard going in. And well, it's because it shouldn't be. You just connect the top side first. Run it, connect the top side, and then come back underneath here. There we go. And do what we did earlier. Put this back on. So lesson learned. Don't jump the gun thinking it'll be that easy. Naturally, it's gonna throw you a couple curveballs. But we should be good to go with this here. And I do have a good bit extra that I didn't have with the last cable. Alright, she's nice and snug. She's not coming out of there. Nope, she sure ain't coming out. But what I'm going to do with this excess, I don't know. I don't know yet. I don't know if I want it riding in there, or if maybe I can pull it up and kind of store it behind the dash. She's not currently rubbing on anything that looks like it'd get hot, so we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna see if we can't hide some of this excess wire, whatnot, and then we're gonna clean up some of the other pieces that go over top. See if we can unfog the glass that goes over, because this panel is surprisingly clean. Well, other than my fingerprints, I need to clean those off. But other than that, it's surprisingly clean under there. But I'm gonna clean her up some more, and then we're gonna see if we can't clean this up, because that's real foggy. Real foggy, real gross whenever I drive and I gotta turn the dash lights on. I can't hardly see them at all. So we're gonna see if we can't clean some of all that up, and then I'll boot you back up and record the reassembly portion, because cleaning's cleaning. You know, you just use stuff that's not going to break down or further damage the components. So basic, just keep it clean kind of stuff. Yeah, I'll be back.